Hey, what is up, everyone? It's Rich. All right, welcome to 10 Minutes with Brian Froud. So this was just a random, what'd you call it? When I was doing the last video, I happened to mention Brian Froud, and I hadn't looked at Brian's work in probably 10 or 15 years. He was a big deal way back. There weren't tons of what I would consider fantasy hardcover art books. They're far less than there are now. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, I don't know what year Fairies was released, but I probably got it in the early '90s, something like that. So I mean, that's a long time ago now. But yeah, he was hot shit, and understandably so. The guy's really really good. When we were looking at Ian McCaig, it kind of reminded me of it. I mean, you can kind of see what I'm talking about, even just in this example here. But this will be a good video. So let's just get into it, and then I can kind of talk about things that I noticed getting this video together. So looking online and looking up Brian Froud, the one thing that I was a little bit surprised of was he really hasn't done what I consider a huge body of work. At least it's easily accessible. And that was kind of surprising to me because as someone who's come from comic books, we produce a lot of art. I mean, that's just kind of the way that it is if you're an active comic book artist, it's not uncommon to do, 150 to 250 pages of art a year. And you work for 10 years. Now you've created 1,500 to 2,500 pieces of art. For me, I mean, I've been in comics for almost 25 years. I've done thousands and thousands of pieces of art. And, I guess illustrators, just work a different way. Maybe he's been real productive and it's just something that hasn't been collected in bigger volumes. But he's just really, really good. It's a very stylish, almost a lot of his stuff is like these kind of collages and montages of organic stuff and human figures and all kinds of things. Look at this. This is really cool. But I could definitely see. I mean, it was funny is I mean I remember getting the book and probably 1990, somewhere between 92 and 98. I probably bought the book. Could have been a little earlier, but I would guess somewhere in that range. And it was like an important book. Like you kind of like there's certain books that are like must have books. This will be like pretty random, but I mean, most people will get like the Capcom book. You get the like most people have owned a Bern Hogarth drawing book. They're just like almost like rites of passage books. Uh, I mean, yeah, there's just a bunch of them, but yeah, I think this book was kind of like that where if you were in art, and particularly if you were going to be an aspiring artist, you'd probably grab this. I mean, if you know Herman Mejia stuff, Herman Mejia kind of paints a little bit like this. Uh, I would say that in my opinion, Froud probably was pretty influential. He is still alive. I looked him up on Wikipedia. He's in his 70s. I think he's 75. And he's out there. There was a couple of pieces in here that I weren't 100% sure that they're him. They might be Alan Lee. I'll definitely do a video on Alan Lee at some point too. But I'll point them out when we get to them. But they came up as Froud pieces. They weren't signed, but the text with them led me to believe that it might not be Froud. But they were cool enough to throw in. This is really cool. And then I threw in a couple of I had said that I had a book on dwarves. Not me, but my grandparents had a book on dwarves when I was a kid. It was actually gnomes, and I threw in a couple of pieces of the gnomes art because he's really, really good. And I screenshot his name because it's a little hard to remember, but I'll show a little bit of that art because I had said that some of Ian McCaig and Brian Froud stuff reminded me of this other artist's work. This is nice. Oh yeah, so the other artist that we're going to look at for just maybe 5 pieces is Rain Portvliet, and the book that he worked on was called Gnomes, and it was written by Will Hewen. And yeah, like I said, my grandparents had it when I was a kid. And what is the magnifying glass? Hold on, let me skip this for a second. I've literally never seen this before. What? I don't want it. That was weird. I've actually never seen that in Photoshop. Full screen. It's I think some of these might have been for like Jim Henson, but they're very Muppety, like Willow or something. I think I've seen Willow. I don't know the movie very good. Could maybe not, but this is really cool. This was in the book. So these were done in This one was dated 1977. Pretty nice. I mean, really nice. But the book is weird too. A common question that he gets is, does he believe in fairies or not? Because the text in the book would lead you to believe that fairies are real, and that he believes that they're real. This is so amazing. These are so freaking good. Clearly, they're. I mean, my guesstimation is that they're based on photos of kids, maybe his kids or models that he used. But man, the way he draws this shit is so good. So nice. I love the like almost lack of backgrounds too. I think looks great. I mean, all this stuff has an impact on you. It's funny because, you know, as an artist, or any of you that are artists, I mean, people will real superficially like compare you to stuff, and they don't realize how deep inspiration influence goes, and how really probably by the time you're 15 or 16, most of the things that you actually are into are kind of already in your DNA just by observation. And of course, you're going to come across stuff throughout your life that you like and will have an impact on you. But like my sense of aesthetics was definitely, by the time I was 18, I already knew what I liked, and I didn't even get into comics till like 5 years later. So my art DNA was already pretty much cemented in me. But it was stuff like this: Dungeons and Dragons, fantasy art, all that kind of stuff. Man, these are great. I wanted to find more. I wish I could have found more of his pencil drawings, because his pencil drawings are great. And these were all, I don't know if these exact ones, but I mean, he definitely had some in the Fairies book, and they were always some of my favorite pages. They were so cool. Man, these are great. Seeing some of this stuff, it reminded me a little bit of Simon Bisley on Slain. Some of Slain, the Slain stuff. And this guy is a British artist, by the way. I didn't know that as a young fan of his work, but I don't think I ever really like considered where he might be from. But it's possible that Bisley was exposed to his stuff in the 70s. Because I mean, if you do think of some of the stuff in Slain, it does look a bit like this. There's some sequences with these, you know, gnome, dwarfy, fairy looking people, and Bisley's really pulling the faces like this. But, you know, obviously Froud probably was inspired by other artists before him. That's kind of how it goes. So they're really cool. This is nice. It's actually kind of pulling them up in a good order. I wasn't sure how it would go because I had like the other artists' work in it, but it seems to be going good. This was really cool. I'd never seen this before. It didn't feel like I had. Beautiful dragon, or whatever this thing is. I consider it a dragon. It's kind of serpenty. Man, that's great. This kid's going to need a tighter grip on the sword if he's thinking about trying to take this thing out. Hold that thing tighter, kid. You're going to drop it. Man, this is so good. This almost has a little bit of like some of the Giger stuff, like when Giger does sort of snaky stuff, not the biomechanical, but when he gets into this sort of effect, it really actually looks quite a bit like it. I can't imagine that if you were an artist that did any kind of fantasy or weird art, and in particular in the 70s, you weren't a fan of Giger, because Giger was so different. My God, that guy is like, I still to this day I say that I personally don't think anyone's taken horror as far as he has in an original way. There's just very little that looked like Giger before or after that it wasn't a riff off of some stuff that he did. This is the other artist. This isn't from the Gnomes book, but I thought this was a nice little painting. But we'll just look at this for a second. But I might have even grabbed this just for myself. It's nice though. I like how loose it is. This is really cool. Yeah, are these for like Jim Henson, like one of his things? That it looks so much like that. Or what is it called? Because they actually showed a couple of puppets that were definitely designed like this. I saw one of the photos was two puppets sitting next to each other that were pretty much this character and another like male character. Maybe this dude. Man, this is cool. This was one of the pieces that I thought might be Alan Lee. And then there's one more. This is really cool, though. Really, really cool. Alan Lee is such a badass. He's so good. In some ways, I kind of almost think he's a little underrated. He's very popular and very well respected, but yeah, he almost should have more story. Look at this. This is great. This is really, really a solid piece. Yeah, it's wild. There's a photographer that kind of does like very arty photos named Jan Sodek. I always thought it was a girl. It's probably Jan, maybe, but he does photos that kind of look like the cover of Houses of the Holy for Led Zeppelin. If you've ever seen that, but they get this almost like soft focused like light on figures, and it's so badass. But yeah, I've always liked that look, like this way of rendering flesh and the softness of it. I remember as a kid being determined to see if I could do that with rapidographs. This is years before comics. I'm telling you, I was obsessed with the idea of being able to get that smooth of a line with a tech pen. For some weird reason. I don't know why. And I knew that I would be able to do it. That was the weird thing, is I was like, this could definitely be done. That was a decade before I even saw a comic. It's so weird. This is some of the gnome stuff. It's not a great scan of it, but yeah, so like I said, my grandparents had this book when I was a kid, and I remember like I wasn't in love with it, but I always thought it was interesting, and I thought that the art was pretty cool. It's funny too, is it's in my office right now. I was looking to see if I had the Brian Froud book, and funny enough, I did have the Gnomes book in here, so it was good enough at one point that I brought it in. But yeah, these were really cool pieces. It was almost like what does a gnome do in its like life? Apparently, it makes bread with mice and feeds the frogs. That's nice. They made a little soup for the frogs. It's cute, right? I like this stuff. Screw you guys. Can be a badass and also like goofy stuff. This is back to Froud. It's interesting. He actually I was noticing in some of the other pieces that the girls, some of the fairies have a little bit of like an Asian vibe to them. I picked up on that in a few of the pieces. So one of his models probably was I don't know, Vietnamese or whatever nationality she might be. That's so cool. This is another one of the gnomes. They're so cute. Oh, this is really nice. This area right here, these like three characters interacting is really funny. It's like a baby pig. He's so fuzzy. Yeah, it's cute. Screw you guys. This is the inner gatefold of the Fairies book. These are some of my favorite style of pieces that he does. Is again the pencil, minimal color, and then the white background. Just looks so good. Another gnome is teaching the chick how to sing, possibly tweet. His face is so adorable. And this is the cover of the book for the Gnomes one. Telling you, man, the guy that drew this book is really, really good. Really good. Les Gnomes. Le Gnome. Le Gnome, man. Look at that. Man, it's cool. Look at his hair. That is so badass. So, all right, we should be getting towards the end. I can't imagine there's more than like 3 to 5 pieces left. So, we'll start wrapping this up. Another gnome. A moment of gnomeness. A gnome named Norm. That was what my friend used to say. I don't know what that's from. If it's an original thing or if it's from a movie. A gnome named Norm. Does anyone know that? This might have been the other piece that I wasn't sure if it was Alan Lee. There was 2. This is probably Alan Lee. Pretty cool. This is Froud for sure. Nearly sure. Really, really cool. And what do we got? This was interesting. It was the I don't know if it's the saturation of the file. Let me see if I pull it down if it looks more like his stuff. They seemed almost a little too, like, it was probably done years later than the stuff in the 70s. Feels a little tighter. It's really nicely drawn though. And it's really cool. Some tattoo artists that do stuff like this that I follow. Okay, yes, that was it. All right, so look, you guys have a great day. If you have any recommendations for we'll say fantasy illustrators, let's pluck around this for a while. I didn't really have a goal for the week in terms of what I was going to do. I kind of did. I initially wanted to do concept artists for a week just to split it up. And look, I'll be honest, I've been getting a ton of requests for manga reviews, but not just art. People want me to start reading manga books and then doing reviews on the actual stories. I'm down to do it. Look, I'll explain at the end of these videos. Sometimes I'll talk for a couple minutes just because I figure anyone that makes it to the end will listen. I'm totally down doing that. The only thing that's intimidating for someone like me who's busy, and also just it's like, look, some of the manga series are long, like hundreds and hundreds of issues. I don't have time to devote to a book like that. And so the thing is my idea was like something long like that. I could read like the first 5 issues or something, but it's difficult because they'll go, oh yeah, but it gets really good around like issue 163. That's the best arc. I mean, if you can hop in there, I'd be down to do it. But you see, that's what makes it complicated. Is I really only have maybe 15 or 20 minutes a day where I could devote to like reading comics. Past that, I'm just too busy. If I'm not working all day, I'm gonna just have other stuff to do. But my days are real full. But I'm totally down to do it. So if you want to make recommendations for that, let me know. Let me know if there's a good jumping in point. If because that's the thing. I can't read 230 issues to get to the good stuff. I would like to, I just don't have the time. So, all right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. And give me recommendations for fantasy illustrators. We could do Alan Lee, like I said. And then, if not, some of your favorite concept artists. And we'll mess around with that for a couple more videos. All right, later.